Welcome back. In this video, I'm going to talk about what you need to know for Monday's test. Of course, you can go over to the chapter 10 and essentially find this out, but I have decided that I want to do mostly composite sections because this is what you're going to need to know for mechanics and materials. Let's take a problem or two, and through working this, it should make sense. I know you may have done this in class, but it doesn't matter. We're going to do it right here. He basically tells you to locate, and the reason we're doing it here is because this is very indicative of what you may see. The location of the centroid, and look, he puts this right here. He gives you that reference point, and then determine the moment of inertia around X, where this is the axis right here. So if you look back and you can't get away from finding these composite shapes, you'll find an equation back here. Now in this particular case, there are three individual equal 1 to 3. There are three individual members here. You got one right here, one across here, one down here. So in fact, there are three individual members, which is why I put the I is equal to 3. So in fact, if you're wanting the I bar, first thing you need to do is find the total area here. Well, you have a 2 by what appears to be a 6. So we're going to do this all in inches here. And it turns out there are two of them. There's one here, there's one there. So that's times 2 plus this distance here happens to be 12 by 2. So it turns out 2 to 6 is 12, and then ends up being twice that. Let me move this down. 12. Okay, so we'll keep track of this. What we need to do in here, I'll just put this under our over 48. What we need to do is look at each one of these sections. Okay, so we're going to do that likewise. As it turns out, it apparently seems as though he's referencing Y from the top of the member here, because that's what he's decided to do. So if you go down to the centroid of this one, you'll go right here. If you go down to the centroid of that one, okay. If you go down to the centroid of that one, I'm going to just put it above that because it doesn't have to be on this C right here. More than likely it'll be below it, and we'll talk about why in a minute. But you've got to locate the C's there. Well, that's not too terribly bad. That distance, if this distance is 2, that distance is 1. Okay, if this is 2, that distance is 1. And so the only thing you have left is the distance down to, say, right here. And if these go together to give you 6, then that's going to give you 3. So let's start with this section. The Y down to the centroid of that section is in fact 1. It happens to be 12 by 2 wide. Then you've got two sections over here. Here, let me erase some of this. You've got two sections here. This one and that one over here. They look exactly the same, so we're basically looking at 2 times this. And what is that? Well, it was 3 down to here. And that's the distance down times the area, which is 2 by 6. So you calculate this out and you'll get 2 inches right there. So as it turns out, this distance, let me get all these red marks off here. This distance right here ends up being 2 inches. 1 inch below the bottom of this board. Now you need to know, or he wants to know, IX, and he's designated that he wants to know it about here. Now, I can't emphasize this enough. You will be given this chart. Let me see if I can find it. Here, it's the last page of the book. I'm going to move it over on top of the screen and then we're going to move it away. This is the last page of the book, I believe, or it might be not. Okay, it's not the inside cover, it's the second, or maybe it's just near the back. So you don't have to go in and memorize any of this stuff. Over time, what will happen to you when you end up in mechanics and materials and courses like that, you're going to find your memory for this one is going to be pretty much set. But at this point in your career, we don't want you to memorize any of this. I'll just give you this sheet of paper. And rest assured, I'm not going to give you any other object except the ones that are here. So here's one of them. That's the one we're looking at because it's little square sections here. And turns out and I'll draw it right here just now, the reference is, and you have to be very careful about this, and instead of me drawing it, why don't I just copy it? Hang on. Okay, I dropped it in there. This is something that a lot of people talk about. This is the base and this is the height. These two you'll know, so that's why they generally list them as B and H. And if you have a section, of course this is long and tall, so if you found its centroid and found IXX, which is this one, you'll find IX about that one is, and this is exactly what I'm going to do. Go ahead and take this long skinny section, and I'm going to look right here at the centroid, and I'm going to say the IX here about this centroid, X. A lot of times they'll put another X over here, but sometimes they don't. For example, in this one he put one here and one over here to indicate the axis or the line in which he's wanting to know the information about. 1/12 the base times the height to the third. There it is right there. However, and let's put this number in. Okay, 1/12 the base of this thing. This base right here is 2. This height is 6. So, pause it and use MATLAB. Its value is 36. Now, its location is right down here. Hang on. Down to its centroid, which is 3. Now, technically, you have 2 of these. You have another one sitting over here on the far end, exactly mimicking this. And guess what? It's down 3 as well. So IXX there and there are both 36. So you could add them together and get 72. IX for, and I'll go in here and label them A, B, and D, since C was already used there. So Ix for A and plus Ix for B is equal to 72. But that's in reference to their own centroid. Now, let's look at the top section, D. Okay, so we're looking at the top section, D right here, and it looks like this. It's 12 across, it's 2 down, dot right there in the middle. So you're finding about the X here, the Ix there, is, guess what, 112 base times height to the third, but the base and the height are different. The base is 12, that's convenient, and then the height is just 2. So 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8, so Ix of D is 8. Now, here's your problem. Your problem is you just found, and here I'm going to erase this, you just found their Ix's like here, here, and here. You did not find them about here. In order to do this, you must use the parallel axis theorem. Or here, I will drop that right there beside this. So let's pay real close attention to what this is. Okay, this is the second moment of the area about its own centroid. That is the centroid here, here, and then over here on this one. Now what I have to do is I have to move a distance from that centroid to here, from this centroid down, and from that centroid down. So let's watch this now. I'm going to first operate on this one. There are two members, but they are lining perfectly up. Their value is 72 plus the total area there is, I better go check it, it is 2 verticals are 6 times 2, and there are 2 of them. 6 times 2, and there are actually 2 of those. What is the distance I moved? The distance I moved, now this is the centroid here, which is 1 each, and I'm supposed to be moving down to this Y bar. So I'm supposed to move 1 more inch. Now, luckily, that's a 1 squared, so you got 1224, or you get from these two sections, you will get 96. But that's not all of them. You have one other section here at D. You need to move this thing down. And so basically what you have is your Ix at your centroid plus A times dy squared. Well, this is just 8. The area of this section, in other words, the area of all this turns out to be 12 by 2, or 24. But I'll just write 12 times 2. Now the distance it got moved was interesting. It now is at 2 inches. But this C down here is that's at that 2 inches, but that green dot right there is at 1 inch. So in fact, that distance becomes 1 squared. So you get 8 plus 12 times 2 is 24. 32. So again, let me scoot this over. The IX from these two members, and I'll go ahead and put a label back on them, A and B, together is 96. The I from the center section, this blue right here, is nothing more than 32. So you add these two together because now they're about the same location. You get 128, and that's inches to the fourth. So let's do another problem, and we'll do this over and over until we get a clear understanding. I'll pick some problems that we did work, some that we did not, or some that I assigned and some that I did not. However, I think I'm going to call this video quit and then put it up and then do the next one.